Tonight's VOD analysis will be between Team Secret and Team Vitality on the unfortunate relegation match which pushed Team Secret back down to Challenger League and pulled Team Vitality back up from Challenger League into Pro League. So, pretty good match. Very excited for it. Obviously, my analysis usually consists of multiple maps. Unfortunately, I take so long and I'm so in depth. We don't really have time tonight for multiple maps. I'll only be doing their BenQ map rather than all three of the best of three. Yeah, that's because I fly to Milan, Pro League Finals tomorrow, etc. So I'm really excited about that. But I hope you guys enjoy what I am able to do. This matchup between Team Secret and Team Vitality didn't go the way of Team Secret. As I said, they got pushed back down to Challenger League as a direct result of this match. So as we go through it, be very critical that everything I'm pointing out is an objective outlook on how both teams played. I won't be doing any sort of, specific counter analysis or anything like that. I'll just be doing an analysis of how the game played out, what went wrong for certain players or certain teams, and how that could have been done better per se. But you guys will see as we get through. So, righty. So, make sure I got the sound off on this. We'll start off with the ban phase. We always start off with the ban phase on this because it's really important to be very critical of what is banned and why. Team Vitality, Bibu explained why, after the match, why he banned Jackal, and that's because obviously Leon Gids really likes to play it on BenQ, so get rid of an operator that a team's really comfortable with. That makes 100% sense. There will be no sound in regards to the VOD. That's purely because I speak over it the whole time. There's no need to have caster's voice over it or anything like that. It doesn't add to the value of the analysis. So that is exactly why. Then Team Secret banned Capitero. That's probably because Capitero has got a buff recently and because it's a popular operator of Team Vitality. It's a popular operator of many teams, so I think that was a comfort ban there. I don't think that was too specifically counter banned there, but that was definitely something they wanted to knock out, and that's why they took that one out there. Defensive bans, they're obviously something that come out quite frequently. What they have been doing for most of the night is banning Clash against Team Vitality. These were teams like Eminem, etc. But of course, you had Team Secret get rid of the mirror, and then as a result, Team Vitality could pick their favorite defensive ban, which is usually Echo. So these bans, they don't seem extreme to me. There's nothing there that I would point out as being out of the ordinary. They were pretty default bans for both the teams. That's why they went that way. First round, obviously, you have Team Secret on attack and on defense Vitality. On a map like BenQ, it's always preferable to start on defense. And of course, on most maps, start on defense because it gives you a leg up because most maps are defensive sided. And then, of course, you feel more confident going into the second half if you have multiple rounds on the opposing team. It's a lot easier. So, first round of operators, you guys can see, yet again, no one six picks. You guys know I'm a big fan of six picking, especially in the first round. The reason why Vitality specifically in this instance should have six picked is they should have hidden the castle. Why? Because it's very unusual to run a castle downstairs. You could have pretended that you were going downstairs by taking, I don't know, they've got the smoke there, yeah, by taking a mute or something to that effect that looks like you're running a downstairs hold. So that the opposing team thinks, okay, this is going to be a downstairs hold. This is why we don't need to six pick to this, this, or this. Not that Team Secret six picked anything when they realized it was going to be a top floor, and maybe that was something they were aware was going to happen. But overall, that's something I would have rather they six picked and been a little bit more hidden on, because the six pick option is something that everyone should use if they have access to. So that flashing the castle there. Whether or not they were trying to do like a counter against Secret, I really don't think so. I think they just genuinely just didn't six pick, and neither did Team Secret. So they could have hidden the IQ and then brought it anyway. So it's things like that. All right, but they do decide to go top floor first. It's pretty popular with teams these days is to go top floor first. Throws off the opponents, especially if they bring a double hard breach, which they've done there. It's not always necessary to bring a double hard breach on top floor. Of course, the IQ on Meepy is super important because BenQ is such a popular map for Valkyrie. There's so many places that you can put these cams, especially out in lobby, and they're extremely time consuming to find. So having an IQ is a really important aspect of that. And then what they do is they decide to open up a heck of a lot of the southeast side, which is a really cool strategy. And it's one that has really been popularized recently, especially when you've got mirror on the board. You can run a mirror in conference. And I'll try and show you that one, give you an indication. A lot of people sort of reinforce this. You can put a mirror here and then you can see all the way through. And that's really good. You can also put a mirror here. This is another popular mirror. And then you can see all the way through, open up a lot of this wall. Some people like the stream also open up this wall and you can see all the way through. So a lot of line of sights you can get. Instead, they decide to play the default, reinforce both of these double walls into square, open up the top, impact trick or whatever it is they plan on doing to destroy the X-Karas and the exothermics. So that's why they've gone with this setup. It's a pretty default setup, nothing crazy, but it's just with these walls open here, no one can hide themselves in this area and hold any kind of line of sight over onto janitor or to sort of move out and then push themselves down closer to conference. So I like that they've opened this up, but of course, without having sort of any kind of reinforcements here, etc., someone could from outside easily just blow this open and hold a line of sight from outside. So it does have its weaknesses as well. Castle, very, very important on this site to block off lines of sight that you know you're going to be playing behind. And of course you can see Team Secret make their way up the front lobby pretty quickly. And they have all the right operators to do this. I wouldn't say that they had any unnecessary operators. The double hard breach probably wasn't that necessary, but it's also not bad. Now this, if we go back to that, this is a sign of a good IQ. This IQ who's on the roof trying to give an indication as to where the Valkyrie cams are and whatnot is a heck of a lot safer than rappelling up on the lobby windows and trying to work it out from there, because you're extremely vulnerable when you have the detector out. It's not a pistol that you can easily get kills with. It's one where you're much more focused on the cassette than you are on anything else. So the detector can really take your eyes off any of the enemies, especially at long range when you're rappelling. So to have this out, yeah, that's really smart on the roof. Okay, I know that it's mid-range. I'm a experienced enough player to know exactly which pillar that might be on. Therefore, I can let my team know, and either they can get it or I can get it when I come into lobby or whatnot. So that's really a good sign of an IQ, and it's good to see him do that. And you can see he spots it there mid-pillar, and he pings it on the roof, and that should be well enough of an indication for his team. The reason Alems is standing out here is because they expect to jump out. Vitality is not exactly the most passive of teams, so by having someone repel and bait, Alems can easily get the kill if someone jumps out. And what they even do is they even use Vonkers to get that cam and have him use his IQ, his Twitch drone to get that one, all on the information of the IQ. And that's really smart, because what Team Secret are doing, and they're saying, okay, we don't want to give ourselves any unnecessary risk. We're going to do this a safe way. We're going to use the utility we have, and we're going to get rid of those cams that they rely on, etc. Now, what wasn't shown on cam there was Spark did jump out, and whilst, yes, Leon got lit a little bit, Alems was obviously able to collect the kill before he did too much damage, and that's why people wonder why people will stand out here and it looks like they're wasting time, but you spend a minute on that and you get one kill and you protect one of your players who's repelling windows, giving pressure and collecting as much intel as possible. That's super important. Mind you, I don't know why it was the castle that jumped out, for example. Usually got the Valk or someone with a little bit more power, but either way, they were able to collect that. So I think overall, it was good that they had someone waiting out there because they were expecting that. Now, unfortunately for Team Secret, what went wrong is their time management here. You can see that they're already almost down to halfway through the round. They haven't got any square control at the moment. They haven't got any stock control either, realistically. The walls are open in there, so that's something that they really won't be able to get full control of. So what they've done is they've spent a heck of a long time giving window pressure over, and they've, worked out where a lot of those Valk cams were. But that didn't give them control of the map where they needed. Now, they have a double hard breach. The first thing that should be happening is trying to get square control, trying to get the thermite in there, and then trying to have someone up on Skylight or something to hold the line of sight over onto Janitor Door so he can start working out, okay, how am I going to get this wall open? Very likely, you just have Leon Gids concuss in the window and then you can get the wall open. But they're running low on time with this sort of preparation to get themselves on a site execute. That cam as well, that Valkyrie cam that was up there, to me seemed absolutely ridiculous. It's almost as if, Sneaky just kind of go, oh, I've got one last cam, let me throw it wherever. The cam was really horrific. It's really an obvious spot. Should have gone anywhere else but there. Now, you guys can see very vaguely that there's been someone playing over in stock this entire time with the walls open. We said those walls were open, or at least shotgunned open. And you've got Meepy, who very likely has no idea that anyone's in there because it's very unlikely a drone's gone in there. Otherwise, more attention would have been paid to that area. And he's just holding his line of sight on Janitor so that the thermite can come do his job. Now, that's super dangerous because if he was to sort of peek out in any way, he might be able to get the kill. But that should be something that your team's very aware of with good droning. They eventually do get the wall open, and that's probably out of the fact that there weren't enough operators available to impact trick it, plus you can do it at a crouch level. So now here is where the problems start for Secret. Because what I think happened here was a miscommunication in team comms. And what needed to have happened is that Leon stayed repelled on the window. There was absolutely no need for him to repel in. What they then needed to do was the fact that they knew they had that wall open. And they could have just walked in behind the desk and tried to get a plan off. Or bait it. Or concuss at least over here into conference and make it look like there was some kind of push, that there was some kind of pressure happening, some kind of execution of some kind going off. And I'm sure there was a couple of flashes going on in a couple of the operators as well, which could have given the illusion that they were going for a plan. And then they could have baited a few people out so that Leon could have got these, window repel shots. Fonkers was coming up, as you can see, from lobby, spiral stairs. He knew someone was in front manager because he saw him laying down next to the banana windows. So here is where it all goes seriously wrong for Secret, because they decide instead of going for the objective, they're going to try and go for kills. And this is where, even though you might have an extra number, things go downhill very quickly. Unfortunately, Bibu is aware that Leon is in. Obviously, repelling sounds are very loud. And now Fonkers starts to panic because he feels he needs to get the refrag. He knows someone's there, but of course, as Siege tends to be, you get beaten out by one, a half a bullet, a quarter of a bullet, and he doesn't win that engagement. And so suddenly, there are almost no refrags that Secret can get because no one's in a position to refrag each other except the 3 players who are setting up for the execute out on square. They have no cover. All they can do is pre-fire into conference and hope for the best. Meepy attempts to push himself over into janitor for a pinch, but he's moving through barbed wire that hasn't been destroyed. And then, of course, there's someone playing over in conference janitor area as well, leaving Alems by himself to try and cover whilst the plant goes down. Now, this plant here was safe for 30 seconds ago with everyone on Team Secret alive. So what should have happened instead was, even if Leon did repel in and he had to go on for those kills, and okay, yeah, he didn't collect, he did the wrong thing there. You got to understand, under high stress situations, players make rash decisions all the time. They can't be perfect. So let's say Leon repels in. Fonkers, for example, did not need to push up as hurriedly as he did to try and get the refrag, because what he should have known was that there was someone playing in front manager, and he could have hit the barbed wire, pulled back, held the angle, and seen if he'd peeked. Okay, people say, okay, it's online, it's peeker's advantage, okay, whatever it's going to be. But overall, it would have been better for him to have come in pre-firing exactly where he knew he was. Or you take the other approach where you hit the barb, you hold a superior angle, an angle that should be more superior than the person can swing across, and then you try and get the kill. Instead, he came in trying to watch 2 sort of angles, one into sort of like the front manager area, one into double door as well, and it was too much for him to look at, even though he knew someone was there after droning. And that's why that wasn't going to work. He didn't need to hurriedly do it. He could have just applied really soft pressure, had their players run in through the breach, run in behind, and start planning. There still would have been 2 people out here covering, one covering janitor, one covering all the way of the line of sight onto the conference double door, and then Fonkers could have dealt with or attemptedly dealt with the person in front manager. Now, unfortunately, that's not even what occurred. Instead, the execution now goes down with a 2v4. And this is almost impossible because you see Alems here thinking on himself, okay, they saw us pre-firing conference double door. They're going to be expecting us to hold that angle. So instead, if I was them, I would then make my way out through janitor and try and come in for the flank kind of thing. Because that would be a smart idea. He's not wrong. But he's got to contend with 4 different players. Stizzy does the right thing, jumps out the window straight away. Perfect. He needs to get out of there because he's not holding any superior angles whatsoever. And then, of course, which I do wonder, because you can't see it, but I do wonder if there was a drone in lobby, because if you're a team like Team Secret, who usually is quite good at bank, you should always have a drone sitting around here somewhere, which watches whether or not anyone's coming for the lobby peak up onto the rappel. So generally, you always have a drone there. Might have got shot, might have got this, might have got that. Whatever the details may have been, there should always be a lobby drone. And it should always be really well hidden. A lot of people put it in the couch here. A lot of people put it up in the bushes. A lot of people put it over in the corner over there. Or, I know, behind little cushions here and there. Or, you know, some of us put it over on the top of it over here. I mean, there's so many places in front lobby that you can put these drones. It's a surprise to me that they didn't think that someone would run into lobby and do that, because it's a 4v2. It's a lot for Stizzy to have to think about, mind you. He can't watch everything, so of course he loses that engagement. And then it's left down to Alems, who's attempting to watch 800 different angles, does a really solid effort to try and take down the dock, but when you've got that, I mean, that's almost an unwinnable situation. And the trouble with that is that it wasn't Stizzy's fault, and it wasn't Alem's fault, and it wasn't really even Fonker's fault. That fell down to their 2 players, Meepy and Leon. And that's such a shame. It's such a shame that a whole round falls apart because you have players who feel they need to make a move. And sometimes you don't have to make a move, you just have to get the plant down. And then, of course, this round just finishes with them diffusing. And then the round's all over, and that's an easy one for Team Vitality. In fact, Vitality didn't really do anything. Realistically, all they did was hold angles. It was a pretty well turtle hold because no one was roaming that heavily. They had the Valkyrie in stock for a lot of that round. They had the smoke. They had a heck of a lot of operators sitting on site just sort of waiting. And a lot of them were really secluded to both conference, stock area, etc. And to me, it wasn't that they did anything exceptional. They even failed the jump out, knowing very well that he probably, if he had hit his shots more correctly, the castle there, he might have got a kill onto Leon. Overall, that's not what happened. And instead, Leon thought he had to make a play, and it just wasn't to be. The IQ of Meepy moving through and trying to take on people in Janitor wasn't needed. Sometimes you just have to play the objective. You have to try and get the plant down, and then you hold angles, and the percentage of teams that win post-plant are a heck of a lot higher than the percentage of teams who win with no plant or no execute. So you better to take your chances with a statistically higher success rate. And of course, because Vitality won upstairs, they finally go downstairs to lockers and CCTV. Of course, Secret go, yep, we want to run the same lineup, which is absolutely fine. It works on all sites. And then we see the 6 pick. On to one of Team Vitality's absolute favorite operators that has been banned by a heck of a lot of teams, Clash. And on the Fierceful Bibu, that's a scary prospect. So they've got the Valkyrie for their intel. They've got the Leisure Mines for even more intel. And of course, a way of sort of disturbing the push, execute, whatever it might be, wherever he might place them. The plant denial on the smoke. A little bit of plant denial on the Valkyrie as well with the C4. And the Jaeger to collect any of those projectiles. So a lot of people wonder, okay, why ban Clash so much? When you've got a team like Team Vitality who uses Clash not only for intel, but to delay the crap out of a team and to really freaking annoy. And it's something that my team uses a lot as well, because you can't shoot through the shield. You can't shoot around the shield. You can burn her, but she can move. You can concuss her, but there's ADSs, or you can move back, or whatever it is that you might do. So Clash can be a big nuisance. And if you're not a really fast team, then that can be such a pain, because you might run out of time and the Clash is just standing there zapping you continuously. So overall, a Clash is a really powerful operator when used correctly, whether it's just for intel, or whether it's to slow down and execute, or to just feed all information to your team as best as possible, or you can use it for peaks as well. Doesn't matter. So it is a little bit worrisome that the Clash did go through. Obviously, Team Secret didn't want to play against Mirror, weren't prepared for a Mirror. Of course, great old spectator, making sure that we get to see the leaderboard. And of course, a couple of Valcams going up when needed. One going into garage as well, I'm sure. And then you can see the good old, some people call it secret stairs, some people call it blue stairs, whatever you want to call it. I call them blue stairs, the blue stairs hold. And when you've got a shield, now some people actually legitimately place a shield here, or a little bit further back. You can put it sideways as well here. That way people can't quick pick you. But instead they've got an actual human walking shield, plus ADSs, plus a player to play behind, which I actually think that they swap out for the smoke. So that's a scary thing, because you actually need control of these stairs to get server control. You also need hatch control, and to open hatch then later after they execute makes it easier for them to flank on you, which is why a lot of the players also don't want to open the hatch, but sometimes have to because they can't take stairs control. And then, of course, someone's going to play behind server rack here. There's so much utility and manpower pushed towards server and blue stairs, that to have to push that is going to take a heck of a lot of time, utility, etc. Mind you, they've got a lot of flashes to go about it. It's not that they don't have the utility to get rid of these ADSs. They don't have the concussions to blow back the clash. Not like they don't have the ability to engage the clash and the person on the stairs as best as possible. You know, death refrag, whatever it might be. But that's a lot to go against. The strategy that Vitality are employing is a really good one because Clash is so hard to combat on those stairs. And you can see here, they've done a top clear. They put a claymore that you're actually not going to see as you run up the stairs, on the stairs like that. And then players are slowly caving and making their way in, front lobby, upstairs, etc. Some really good speed into it. They had some preset drones during prep phase. Good stuff. They've taken the rest of the map control and they've moved their way over and they've got a lot of time to start dealing with this server. Bibu's feeding a bunch of information to Spark, who's got the shotgun and the SMG sitting on the stairs there. Tells him about a drone. Don't know who left the drone there. That was pretty silly. Drones are extremely valuable in Siege. You can see Leon here is checking over and over again. And instead what he does is instead of continuing to hide behind that pillar there or that wall on that door frame, pull out his lifelines and concuss and then get someone else to like shoot the feet of the clash. He exposes the fact that they have a ZOWIE standing right there. Now, I feel like that's a waste of what could have been a really good push because Clash was standing a little bit out of range of an ADS behind that wall and he could have capitalized on that, but unfortunately he didn't. And now that they get the hatch, the Clash obviously is looking at it, he's aware of it, Leon's watching to make sure no one tries to quick peek it, the hatch gets open, cool. And then of course the Clash likes to give a couple of zaps, why not? Now, all in this time of this happening, you've now wasted almost 30 seconds just getting the hatch open, but you have not gotten rid of any of the ADSs. Now, unless I missed something on the VOD, I didn't see any Habana or Thermite or anything getting rid of the ADSs into blue. So this has been a really difficult round already for Team Secret because they actually haven't gotten rid of the utility that they need to early enough. So you can open the hatch all you want, but that doesn't mean they're going to get off the stairs. They have a shield, they have barb, they have ADS. Why move? It's not something they have to do. And then, of course, you see Leon decidedly switched to his concussions on his lifeline. And then look at this. These stun grenades by LMs, and I'm rubbing out instead of drawing, but these stun grenades are being thrown into red rather than being thrown over into blue stairs. Critical mistake. Absolute critical mistake because you need to focus on getting server control first because if that's where you want to push, that's where you need to get control right then and there. And it is almost coming down to the 1 minute mark. They haven't taken any control. They're using their utility elsewhere rather than where they're meant to actually be using it. And now they're running out of time to start, working on that server control that they need. And they're just piling up on hatches, expecting Vitality to peak. Now, Vitality is aggressive, but they're passive aggressive. They're only aggressive when they know that they're sort of being cornered and whatnot. But people who are on side, they don't feel cornered right now. They don't feel like they have to move. People are holding server, which looks into A. People are holding, over in Vault and whatnot, or red, which looks into B. Both sides are covered. They don't have to freak out. And that's why they're not peaking, because there's no need for them to peak. And then what happens instead is that because they know they're running out of time, and they're not running out of time in the round, they're running out of time to get blue stairs and server control, which takes an incredible amount of time with that much manpower, a shield, ADS, barbed wire, etc., and they haven't used any utility over there. The call comes out for Secret to push from a south push instead. But guess what? Not everyone's ready. They're not coordinated. No one's ready for this push that they want to do. I didn't see any drones going around. So now that they're hoping they can run and gun, this is a bad push. Leon, of course, because he's an absolute gunner, gets the first pick onto the Jaeger, who's not expecting it. Good. You've made your breakaway now. Now it's as if Vitality have to do the retake. Fonkers gets taken out because he was further up on south stairs and he actually was not prepared for the push. So overall, Fonkers was a little bit behind. Whether or not that was just him or whether or not the call was made too hurriedly. And then, of course, you can see people are still in gold bars. People are still involved. That's a lot of areas that you have to look. You also have to look into servers. So you can see this huge line of sight here that's on a lens. He can't look in over on gold bars. He can't also look behind him into vault. He can't also watch into the other bomb side. There's a heck of a lot of areas he's trying to look around and hold. And he can't do it all. So, of course, he gets taken down from servers. And now Leon Gids is waiting because Meepy gets taken out. Again. And now it's just Stizzy and Leon. And where's Stizzy? Still upstairs after you open the hatch. Do I think it's his fault? Again, no. Again, I think the plan was that they wanted to take server and they wanted to do a original server push because it tends to be the most successful push you can do. And then the plan got changed because they felt it was too hard to push that. They didn't know how to push that. Not that they put any utility into it, but they just thought, you know what, we're going to die. So Team Secret already put themselves up to fail because look how much time they had. They had enough time to regroup. Everyone get over here. Let's put someone down in garage. Someone go all the way out to front lobby, jump down through lone and go into garage and hold a long line of sight on the rotate from A to B in red and the doorway because there was a rotate over here, of course, and there was another rotate over there. And someone could have stayed in garage, laid down and held that long line of sight or done a diagonal into here or a diagonal in here, whichever one they were most afraid of. They could have planned this. They could have come up with a better way to rotate if they wanted to rotate. They weren't wrong. It probably was best to rotate because there was so much manpower all the way over in blue. But they needed to have worked that out earlier. They needed to have had strong leadership, which turned around and said, hang on, let's all pause for a second rather than just run the fuck in and hope for the best. And that's not what happened. And then, of course, you see that, okay, Leon, he's going to rely a lot on his gun skill here and his game sense, which he does. Takes out Qual, which is a good pick. But there's still a clash up. Mind you, this entire time, he still has all of his utility. And I think that's a downplay of Leon, is that he's such a great gunner, but he just doesn't know how to use utility very well at all, if at all. And now Stizzy's dancing because he's assuming that he can get a pick from a hatch. Again, I will say this, Team Vitality is a smart team. They're not overly aggressive. They're what I would consider a passive-aggressive team. And as a result, these players are not going to peek you. They're just going to play time. The clash is in the corner, feeding intel. The lifelines come out, even though he knows that there's a clash. And he decides to try and take that on himself. All that is needed in these kind of situations is a little bit of coordination. Yes, I understand. It's a 2v4, of which then was brought down to a 2v3. It can be brought down to a 2v2 because no one else is peeking them except for the clash standing in the corner. Hey, Stizzy, I'm going to lifeline him, peek out of south stairs and shoot his feet with me when I hit him with the concussion. 2 different sprays of bullets hitting someone's legs, that's an insta-kill. He was that low after just Leon shooting him. So this is why it's so extremely important to use coordination, to use coordinated pushes and holds and pinches. And that didn't happen. Stizzy does what he's trained to do as a full support player, and he does objective. They hear the plants going off, and Leon's trying to give the best support he can, those bars there are ridiculous. And then a perfect smoke from Spark just ends it then and there because they were both so low anyway. So this round wasn't really destined to fail. It was rushed. It was untimely. It was uncoordinated. And again, for another round, Team Vitality played it super smart and they just didn't peak. And Team Secret hovered over the hatches, hoping for the very best that they would peak them. But what people don't understand is that this is an objective and time-based game. The strategy is to either get the plant down, kill the opposition, or you run out of time. And 2 out of the 3 of those are objective-based. And if the other team doesn't peak you and doesn't allow you to get the kills, then you know, all as hell better get that plant down. Otherwise, you're out of options. So this is why Vitality do so well, is because they know they don't have to peak. They just have to wait. And Team Secret didn't like that, and they were waiting for these picks. Now you can see Spark works out that they're both down, and they get the defuse off. And that's another round to Team Vitality, which, mind you, didn't look like Vitality did anything special. It's not like they outmaneuvered Team Secret in any way. They really, really just held angles again for another round. So that's why all in total, you're not seeing them. I'm not feeling like Team Vitality is like pulling out the greatest strats, pulling out the best of the best. They're pulling out just default stuff and not peaking. And you have, unfortunately, Team Secret in an integral match, which I think stress played a heck of a lot of part in this, is the fact that they're not using utility and they're not burning the opposition's utility, and they're not being coordinated when they decide to change a push, or when they do a push, there needs to be more coordination. So that's why Team Vitality is coming through and winning a heck of a lot of these rounds very easily. Now that they've won both upstairs and downstairs, they now get to go to Tellers, which is also another pretty viable bomb site. The only inviable bomb site that is on this map is sort of the open area one, which is a bit of a struggle to hold, but many of us teams do have strategies on it. Again, you'll see Team Secret opt to run a pretty similar lineup, but of course then they change it out because they know that there's only one site that they're going to ghost, and they now know for absolute certain, because the other two are locked, that they should go Tellers and Archives. As a result, Alems decides, you know what, because an integral part of taking Tellers Archives is getting vertical control, we need vertical pressure, and I either need to go a buck or a sledge to get that. So that's why he 6-picks off the Habana, which is so not necessary for this site, and he 6-picks onto the sledge. That's very good. Of course, Stizzy needs to stay on the Thermite because you need to get one of the walls open if you're going to plant. Otherwise, you can try sort of Archives door or whatnot, depending on what kind of push you want to do, but it's not always the most appropriate push. And then Spark gets himself off the IQ, gets himself off the Valkyrie, which of course the IQ is actually going to spend a lot of time looking for, and he goes on to the Kaid. And I believe would be to stop the open area wall from getting opened, the triple wall into Archives. Now look at this. This to me happens to so many pro players, and it's something I yell at my boys all the time about, is that if you're a defensive player, the first thing you should do, run, because 2 drones always spawn out the front. And where is the only place that they can go in? Well, they can drive down to garage if they want, but there's really no point having a drone down in garage unless you're going to repel and you're afraid of the garage run out. Okay, maybe. But the drones will always come into ATMs. Now, you see 3 whole players of Vitality go, sweet, I'll hold the the filing cabinet. I'll hold the line of sight onto there. I'll also hold the line of sight, I don't know, somewhere over here, wherever, and I'll look for drones as they come in. And as the Twitch drone comes in, it gets destroyed. Absolutely obliterated before it can do any of its job. That is such a waste of a drone, especially one with such heavy utility. Crazy. Absolutely crazy to me. For a viewer, it seems so menial. It seems so little. But for me, that seems like such a big mistake. And quite frankly, you have like 40 seconds in a round to position your drone where you might need it. And if anything, a Twitch drone doesn't really even get driven into the building properly anyway. It's something you sort of keep in your hand to throw when you need to use it, etc. Or you keep it in a super safe place. And everyone knows that people hide drone in filing cabinets. So, really bad decision there to just flat out drive that drone in there like that. Then once they've finished drone hunting, they go upstairs and they do an upstairs hold because every team knows that it's extremely difficult to hold this side if you don't have top floor control. Now, I take it back actually. The Kaid pick is actually extremely helpful because they know that they're not going to take a Thatcher, which blows my mind. Teams don't take Thatcher these days because Maestro cams, yokai drones, bandit batteries, disabling things, Kaid. I mean, there's so much you can counter with Thatcher. Like, I just think he's so OP now. But anyway. Wasn't in their lineup. That's cool. And instead, they're going to hold like they would a top floor hold. And the Kaids will very likely go on both of these double walls. They also, a lot of you are wondering why this was opened up by Brid. That's because you can look down onto the default plant spots. Again, they open up the wall into stock as well. Really good lines of sight. And again, Meepy is going to spend his first 30 seconds or so, maybe even longer, trying to find these Valk cams. Why? Let's go back to that. Firstly, I'll let you think for a second why Meepy shouldn't even be looking for a Valk cam. We've all had a second to think. Why? Because Fonkers should have turned around, and I'm not saying that every player should know exactly what every gun sounds like and what operator it is, but half the time I can tell who an operator is from their damn shoelace. I know what every weapon sounds like, and maybe that's just because I'm paid to know this game on a really, really intimate level. But when he got his Twitch drone shot by the Kaid, he should have known that they had 6-picked off something onto the Kaid. Now, if you just looked at the lineup, they're not going to drop the smoke. They're not going to drop the castle. There's no need to drop the Maestro. And you really shouldn't drop a Jaeger. So, of course, it's very, very, very likely that they didn't have the Valkyrie and that they would have swapped that out for the Kaid. So to me, it would have been the call to say, hang on, they've got a Kaid. That means that they 6-picked. There were 3 other operators in the lobby, so you can easily cancel out those operators from being 6-picked. And do you see where I'm coming from? It's these kind of critical thinking skills, these kind of mathematical equations where you go, hang on, my Twitch drone just got shot by a Kaid. I also saw the feet or the body of a castle. I also saw the Maestro. So if the castle and the Maestro are still there, There's only 3 other operators that they could have 6-picked off of. And there you go. So this is where these critical thinking skills come in. What would have then needed to have happened is I would have re-diverted Meepy over and said, instead, Meepy, you need to go work out the Kaids, go rappel on windows and shoot off the Kaids off the top wall so we can get Stizzy and the ASAP to open those walls. It's about time efficiency, and it's something that Team Secret struggle with a lot in this match. Yes, they have the top open for the impact trick as well. That's something you have to deal with. There again, his Twitch drones had no impact on any of the Maestro cams, which is a shame. On a Pro League level, Twitch drones almost never find their way in to destroy something like a Evil Eye or something like that, or actually do any real damage. So yes, I will admit that Twitch isn't quite as viable. I mean, it's more about her weaponry than it is about her little Twitch drone, but both Twitch drones got taken out really early. So now Fonkers has absolutely no idea where it got shot from, where to look. He's by himself because he's always in the frag role of solo push from ATMs. And again, Leon does his upside down rappel where he's got a little bit of protection, waiting for jump outs, etc. I believe someone's waiting for his jump outs. Of course, Sparks whiffs a few shots on the drone, but he gets it eventually. And now, taking top floor is the priority for Team Secret. And you can see Fonkers is trying to work out, okay, where is the person who shot my drone? And that's where we missed the flurry there. And this one I kind of want to see if I can work this out. Because when I initially watched this, I had missed what had occurred. And if you're wondering, this whole spacebar deal, this is what all analysts do. When they want to work out the exact position of something, we do this so that we can catch it real quickly. Now, Spark is able to catch Leon rappelling, and Leon was rappelling over here, so this was from a prone position here, which is an absolute tilting way to die. It really is. And this was because he had predictably done it before, and this was right into, boom. Then, of course, Bibu gets actually lit almost completely to death, takes out Stizzy, but got traded straight back by Meepy. Now, overall, this isn't that bad. A 3v4, not horrible. You've got over half of the round to go. But what is horrible is that Stizzy wasn't able to get the wall open. Now, one thing I do want to stress about a map like BenQ and getting top floor control, which is important for a lot of the sites, maybe not downstairs so much, but every other site, top floor control is so integral. Your first priority is opening up the lines of sight because top floor is very open. There are places corners you can hide, but you can't reinforce every corner. So you're always exposed to getting wallbanged, to getting shot, to getting rappelled on, to getting God knows what else. And they therefore need to open up the really obvious lines of sight, which are the square walls. Whether they open up the right, then the left, or they just open up the right, it doesn't matter. But by having that complete control of at least that first top floor area that's needed from square inwards, then they can hold lines of sight into conference. And then, of course, people start feeling really pressured. They start to peek, they get picked off, etc. Instead, they rely on the window repellers to try and take picks when there are people that can lay comfortably up and see. And what can you do? What can you do if someone's able to lay there? What can you do if someone feels they can run around anywhere in the room up there because the walls are all reinforced off. So a priority for Team Secret was off. Their priority should have been, let's get our IQ on the windows, keep the barricades up, shoot the Kaids off the wall, and then once they've done that, let's open the window, let's start applying pressure. Stizzy, get Meepy to cover you from either skylight or in square, and cover the janitor so you don't get peeked whilst you're putting the thermite charge on the wall. And then the walls get opened up, and that line of sight already makes people run. And when people start running, when they hear a thermite charge, boom, Leon Gids gets a free pick. Boom, you can see a Lems here rappelling on the windows, gets a free pick because people are running because they've got way too many lines of sight on them. So their step-by-step process was almost back to front. And now you can see a double window rappel here because why? They can't get this wall open and Spark's just running around. If these walls were open here, no way in the world Spark can just diddle-daddle around wherever he damn wants. Yes, the windows are open, but he feels comfortable enough to move around wherever he wants. He has a rotating janitor. You got Sneak who's laying in conference, giving him as much support as possible. I mean, at that point, you have a heck of a lot of freedom. You've taken out their hard breacher. You've taken out one of their main carries. You're feeling confident at that point. Finally, Spark gets taken out. The trouble of running around in the middle of a room is that you risk getting your head taken off, and Bonkers successfully completes that. And now, of course, it's a minute and a half and they've equaled the numbers. So now that they have a little bit more top floor control and Sneaky drops off, which is such a smart idea, then it's easily doable by Secret now. They didn't have to get the walls open. They lost a lot of people, unfortunately, not doing that. But now they drone the top floor to confirm it, and they could start opening some of these vertical holes. They still have the sledge. They have the diffuser in hand. And they have a minute left at this time to see whether or not they can get some vertical picks and then start making their way into sight. Mind you, they lost the thermite. So they're not going to be able to thermite open pretty much any of the front lobby or the south stairs wall or anything like that. So they're really stuck. They're going to have to force their way in. Again, 2 frag grenades on the side of the sledge. A claymore by the Twitch. Two smoke babes still on bread. And now they're only down to 20 seconds and they're panicking. How do we get into this site? There are 2 people off site now. They had the ability to rotate themselves completely off site. Now, anyone who ever comes across the bottom of South Stairs wall being open, or any of it, or it even just being soft when it's a Teller's Archives hold, that means someone is holding in open area. 1000% it is an open area hold. Or someone's playing down on South Stairs. Why? Because that is an easy way to deny the plant in 2 different spots. 2 default plant spots in that particular bomb site alone. Instead, this is the push that Team Secret decides to do. Through both doors. And it's just pick after pick after pick because no wall can get opened. Nothing can happen. They had a sledge. They actually probably could have sledged in through south wall. But of course, when that wall's soft or it's open, you know for sure someone's playing on south stairs and or open. And they didn't check it. I would have actually liked to have seen, and I don't even know whether or not that's something we can see at all. but I would have liked to have seen whether the hatch over open area was soft. If the hatch in open area was soft and or opened, the sledge could have opened it, got a free kill onto the Jaeger. Maybe this is a droning mistake. Maybe this is a lack of intel or communication mistake. But for me, knowing that south wall is soft or open would scream absolute alarm bells for me. Especially when I don't even know if open is free or not. I don't even know if it's being held. I don't even have a drone in there. And that's why opening that hatch above open would have at least, even if they didn't challenge it, at least given a lot of pressure onto the Jaeger. And none of it was done. Mind you, the top floor was stressful enough for Team Secret, and that's why they just didn't have what they needed. Look at this. It's so passive. Vitality is so passive. They know they don't have to overpeak this. And then we get into another round. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately in this case for Vitality, they've won every other preferable bomb site, and now they get to go back to CEO. Now this time, this is where Secret surely would have learnt from their mistakes in going, how we've attacked thus far has not worked. We need to focus on the objective because they're not going to peak us, and we need to force them into situations where they peak us. Because at the moment, they're not peaking us, guys. So, they know it's going to be a top floor. Alems goes with the sledge. Not the worst idea in the world. I also think he probably could have picked a heck of a lot of other operators that would have been more viable for this bomb site. Either way. And Vitality feel very confident doing the exact same hold they did in the very first round. Again, we see some sneaky Valcams by Sneaky himself. Oh, look at that. Now, mind you, I don't know what that Maestro cam was all about. It was pretty inventive. I will give him that. I think Bibu was just trying something. Yeah, I think he was just trying something different with his evil eye. He knows they were running Twitch consistently, so it's a really easy one for the Twitch drone to get when no one's there drone hunting. Yeah, and I mean, someone in my chat just said, I think it's to call the rappel. Well, the rappel can be heard from a mile away. It can also be heard from a couple of different cams, and they have a Valkyrie as well. So very, very likely they put a Val cam in lobby, and if you didn't, it's a bit of a waste. So I highly doubt it was for the rappel. You don't put a whole Maestro cam there just to work that out. But and then they also would have had Qual, who had a bulletproof, which usually goes on banana. So there's no possible way they wouldn't have worked out the rappel. But I think it was just one of those things that he thought he could get away with. Maybe, I don't know, some kind of intel collection of some kind. A little bit of a funky one, but Bonkers gets that one. And he spots that one out in prep phase, which is beautiful. Now, good thing I saw there was that Meepy had identified that there was a Valcam in stock. Because the first thing he does when he gets to anywhere he goes is he pulls out his electronics detector, which is good. Again, some more intel collection, some more window pressure, some droning coming out by the support, which is always stizzy. And finally, they put a drone up and over near stock. And now, for the second time they've played this bomb site, now Meepy's aware that someone plays in there. This right now, the angle that Meepy's holding is something he actually doesn't need to hold. Because realistically, if someone wants to try and get that angle from stock all the way on to someone like running past, then okay, that's fine. I would peek it then. But peeking it early before your thermite's even going to make a move is a little bit risky. There's no need to put yourself in risky lines of sight unless it's needed for something integral. At any time, someone could swing out a janitor. At any time, he could get double pushed. There's barb there and whatnot. I get it. He has the superior angle, and then he does this, and he overpeaks. This could have cost him dearly, and is so unnecessary in this situation. Now that they have the window repel, they get some good lines of sight in there. The Maestro cam stays up because Fonkers unfortunately couldn't get his drone over there. And still, with over half of the round elapsed, they have not done what should be step one for every team. That's get the wall open. And now people are freely running down and open. And I think they do finally get it open just after the 1 minute 10. And the concussions and the lifelines come out. Now, for whatever reason again, Leon feels the need to get off his rappel and engage inside. He knows where one of them is. That's fine. And now he moves in to try and engage more. Now, Fonkers collects his own, and that was Spark. So that was a good pick. But there's two people playing in conference. Meepy gets a crossfire and does a run through down hallway, which was risky as it was anyway because he knew someone was playing in stock and he's lucky that they defaulted down through the hatch. Otherwise, he would have got collected. And then somehow, it comes down to a 2v2. How in the world Team Secret didn't think that once they had every single superior line of sight, they had Meepy holding down into janitor door / stock push, they had Stizzy open the wall, they had two people on rappel with complete line of sight into conference, they had another person who could have held a diagonal line into front manager, and then they could have had someone covering. Why did they not just have Stizzy run in, either bait a plant once or twice, get those smokes out, and then hold angles and wait for Vitality to run? Instead, they just jumped in again. Then they went for the gun game. Now, Leon is an exceptional gunner. Exceptional. Without a veil of any inkling of a doubt, I would 100% back him as one of the best fraggers, one of the most confident fraggers in EU. Now it's left on a 1v2. They know he's out there somewhere. And that's hopefully very much from a drone call. And then, of course, Fonkers is able to make his way, get the frag, and they win it. But they don't win it in a way that I would imagine my boys would be very happy with. If my boys won a round like this after losing 3 in a row, they would kind of go, oh my God, that was way too close. That was almost, we lost that, boys. Again, we almost had 4 rounds in a row. So there's a lot here that I feel is lacking for Team Secret on their attack. Maybe it's the coordination. Maybe it's that they have their priorities set wrong. They don't have priority number 1 being, okay, let's get the wall open, etc. Priority 2 being, let's bait out all the plant and our priority 3. A step-by-step process, a really easy step-by-step that they can employ in every single map that they know, okay, this needs to be done first, then this needs to be done, so that we're not putting players in risky positions. We're not losing utility and having our utility die out. So Team Secret finally gets one attacking round And then, of course, Vitality go, you know what? Top 4 didn't really work out for us, even though it was pretty close. We'll move back downstairs. We were pretty confident on that one. We won that pretty decisively. And then they run a pretty similar lineup on both sides with Bibu 6 picking off. And instead of running the Clash, he runs the Kaid. This is so smart. In my head, when they did this and I was watching this live, this was so freaking intelligent because Secret in their mind are going, they're going to run the Clash, blue stairs, hold again. And in Vitality's mind, they went, oh, that's too predictable. We've already done that. Let's just do our turtle hold, boys. So in my head, I think that Vitality played this so smart. So smart. Because why do something that they've had, 3 or so rounds to stew over and come up with a plan? Why just do something else? And then they bring the Kaid. Because Secret don't bring a Maverick. Secret don't bring a Thatcher. And you know what's effing annoying? A Kaid when you have no counter but a Twitch. That's annoying. And yes, he 6-pick off the Maestro, which probably wasn't the best idea. But he 6-picked off to a really, really good operator. Especially for BenQ. Now this kind of turtle hold is a pretty default setup. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing crazy. Some really important Val cams which give really important intelligence to the team. Now this is one thing Team Secret are really good at. Let's go back to that. Their prep phase drones to give them intel as to whether or not anyone's roaming have always been their strong point. Every VOD I've ever watched of them, they've always had this as a very massive strength of them. And I think, and I don't want to be careful because I don't want anyone to think that Team Secret are not a good team. You got to imagine this is a relegation match. This decides whether or not you're in Pro League or not. And if you're that stressed, you're going into the last deciding map here, and you start off not well, and then you start to get tilted as well, and you add on that stress to it, that's an extremely difficult thing to deal with as a team and as a player. So they go back to their roots, they do everything they know how to do, they've got their drones set up, and now that they know no one's roaming, this should be when they just hit it hard. And that's what they did the first round. They hit the map hard, they got top 4 control extremely quickly. And Alems knows he can just walk himself pretty well in there with the assistance of his drone, making sure that there's no one else. Now, interestingly enough, they don't have a shield or anything on there. They've just got the smoke playing on the stairs with some barb and some ADS. And Alems realizes that he can use these flashes, which was a massive mistake the first round. So this is good. The first thing he does is cook it. If I'm on those stairs, I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh my god, dude, like there's only been like 30 seconds and I already have all my ADSs cooked. So at this point, I'd be freaking out. Yeah, I'd be pulling the shotgun at this point. Bibu is here to Kaid trick the hatches. Cool. Easy. I mean, you don't really need to Kaid trick, my bro. Like, you should know that they're not bringing Thatcher. You should know that they're not bringing a Maverick. They've run pretty much the exact same lineup every single round. it's funny there because Alems actually watches the hatch, and it's almost just like this deep sadness inside of him as he dies internally, realizing that his Excairos got Kaid tricked. Now, Bibu unfortunately threw it too high, but the thing is that he doesn't have to worry. Unless they let a Twitch drone slip past, they're not going to go anywhere. And there's nothing wrong with being extra safe as a Kaid either. That's 100% right. I had someone in my chat to say, they might have 6-picked the Thatcher. But teams become predictable. After, 4 rounds, you kind of get the gist of how someone's going to play the last, 2. So, or the last one, I should say. So, you don't really expect them to then just randomly bring a Thatcher. Now, somehow, they've cooked the ADSs on this smoke, and they've still not been able to push him out. Granted, they did just open the hatch, and they're now just droning to work out what's going on. They see the smoke there. They're able to drone him out. Fonkers finds that Velcam, which is awesome because I believe he wants to move through a garage. And there. That is a bad way of using utility. And it sounds like I'm ragging on Leon, and most people who know me know that I love Leon to death, but it's not the way you use lifelines. So if you're telling me that you should concuss people and not push, then I have no idea what you want that to do. You want to scare them? You want them to pre-fire all their bullets? What is it that you want? Because generally if you concuss someone, you want to make a move on them right then and there. And no one made a move. He used both of them. And no one got to make a move on the concussed smoke, which would have been the optimal time to do a double push on him. At this time, Fonkers wants to move through down south stairs, but unfortunately, they still don't have server control. So he needs to back the F up and hold south stairs flank before he does anything. Beautiful pre-fire from Leon. Pretty much saves that round for them, I think, because without that beautiful shot down onto the smoke, they might have spent a heck of a lot more longer without pretty much any utility left trying to take those stairs against this shotgun. Of course, Fonkers tries to get rid of some utility on the south stairs and whatnot. They're aware of his presence. And again, there's someone behind server. So they're aware of this. The drone got shot and they have to try and brute force their way in there. Mind you, it's one person and they've got 2 people to push it. But what they don't have is the hatch open. So that means that someone's playing really close to the door of server. And I believe that was Kaid. Brid tries to play this as passively as possible, but when you're pinched like that, it's like all over. This, I don't know what this is. What is this? Someone explain to me this. This. I don't know what's going on. Just someone please explain to me why this beautiful Twitch is playing or pushing herself into garage when all of their players are still waiting to set up for the execute. I don't know what that was. I really don't know. But he pays the price for it. Now, somewhere off screen, mind you, Leon Gids just like obliterates 2 of Team Vitality's players. That's something I would have liked to have seen how he had done that. Did he peek from server into the bomb site? Were they peeking from red? What was going on there? We didn't really get to see. And actually, what happens at the same time, which is how Fonkers should have done it, is you have a Lems drop whilst there's a lot of attention diverted over to server. He drops. Unfortunately, Qual's actually like, the timing of that is just shocking. Qual's actually ready for it. And Sneaky had already picked up Bonkers. And so now the element of surprise that Team Secret wanted to have now does not really exist. And only now does the diffuser start to get planted. This should have been a priority from the very beginning when they took server control. Oh, how the mighty crumble. This could have been avoided if they had south stairs pressure, if they were able to get the hatch open, if Alems didn't die over on Vault Hatch. There's so many things I can point out that went so freaking horribly wrong. They didn't bait out. They actually didn't wait to bait out. Like, they didn't go, oh, Stizzy, go and like bait the plant. And then like, you know, Qual will freak out and he'll toss his C4 and then there'll be nothing left to stop. And then as they peek, I can get a free kill. None of that happened. They just said to everyone, all right, collapse now. But if the plant isn't going to go down at the same time as the collapse, then it becomes almost pointless. And as a result, even though the plant went down, guess who's left over again? The poor planter, because no one could stay alive. And now it's just Stizzy to go, welp, okay, I got this. No problems, let me do my best. And he lays down in an optimal position. And someone covers him. And Stizzy gets a really good shot. I don't think it's because Sneaky necessarily whiffed his shots, but I also don't think they were the best of shots. And Stizzy gets a beautiful pistol there. And that's one of those clutch moments where your heart's racing. There's not much you can do. You just try and do your best. And that's what Stizzy did. So that was, again, the second round that Team Secret has barely won. Barely. And it's such a shame because Team Secret is such a good team. And I will say again, it's not that Vitality did anything exceptional. The 6-pick on the Kaid, I thought that was pretty brilliant. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to do it. But it was a pretty smart idea to do it and to change from the strategy that they'd already showed Secret in the first round. Mind you, they still put a smoke on the stairs. Mind you, they were aware that they weren't running Thatcher, so it was a pretty easy thing to Kaid trick, etc. So there was a lot of smart thinking in there. But I just don't know. Now we see a quick flash of a Thatcher. My assumption is that Meepy 6 picks off onto the Thatcher, but if you're Team Secret right now and you've seen them go from a Clash Blue Stairs hold to a Kaid, in my mind, I'm thinking they're going to change again. They're going to want to adapt to something completely different. They don't want to show us the same thing twice. So, you never know. You should always plan for what you've seen. But Vitality over and over and over again have shown that they want to run like 4 different strats, one map, same site. So it's one of those things that you can see Secret trying to now counter-adapt to a little bit too late. And yes, okay, putting up the buck there and then Vitality seeing the buck and then them going, oh, they think we're going, I don't know, tellers or something, or they might think that we're going to change site. And no, of course that was going to be a 6-pick of some kind, and putting onto the Thatcher is not a bad idea. It will help with the Maestro cams, it'll help with some of the Legion mines. If Ella's going to play in in blue stairs, then of course her Allen mines will also get taken off. But of course, Bibu swaps over to the Vigil. And now that becomes troublesome because it makes me think, oh, he's about to do a roaming strategy. Maybe Vitality has a roaming strategy. And as you can see, this is a roaming strategy. This is a big roaming strategy because they're reinforcing off some of archives. They're reinforcing some of their front elevator walls. They're doing like a funky big roaming strategy. And this is just scary because if you haven't seen a team run this before and like you're in prep phase droning and you're like, what the fuck am I seeing? You're having to come up with stuff on the fly hella quick. I mean, so much is open. Upstairs, so much is open. Wouldn't even surprise me if they open every single hatch as well. So this moment, Team Secret do what they do every round and they take top floor control. For this particular row, this is good. Again, unfortunately, for Leon, he gets the call that someone's hiding an elevator and he pushes it by himself. And the lack of refrags that Team Secret have been getting thus far this match has been very worrying. And the fact that he pushes this by himself means that no one can refrag him. And there it is. That is such an unfortunate event because, you know, 9 times out of 10, when you know where someone is and you swing in pre-firing, you should get the kill. For Leon there, Bibu just heard him pushing, was aware, had the better head height configure. I mean, whatever it was, unfortunately, there's no one there to refrag. And of course the hatch is open, so Bibu can just fall off. And there's no one there to refrag. And in the first, 30, 40 seconds, you've got Leon, one of your biggest and most brightest fraggers, out. Mind you can see Fonkers going, well, I should go for the refrag. Stizzy as well. He's the thermite. The support player pushing it instead of Fonkers. I mean, that's all wrong. What you should then do is collect yourself and go, okay, I'm going to hot drone you Fonkers and I'm going to hot drone you Alems or Meepy or whatever. And you guys pinch push onto elevator. And if he is still there, you should be able to get the refrag. I mean, Fonkers was there. Now, this strategy employed by Vitality, it's not even really that there's a heck of a lot of people on Vitality that are like aggressing, even though it's a full roam strategy. No one's really aggressing on the Secret players. All it's doing is delaying the crap out of Secret. And Bibu getting that beautiful shot into Leon. Really, Bibu's the only aggressive player on Team Vitality, especially in this round. So they're droning, they're wasting all their drones, and they're trying to work out how to push the people upstairs. And this is good. LM's pushing with someone else. The Ella dancing around in the room is able to get a LM's because obviously the concussion goes off, which if they had top floor control, they would have been able to spot. I don't even believe any Thatcher was used. Obviously, the trade comes out from Stizzy because they pushed in together. It's easy to get a refrag if you push into a room together. And Bibu's still in the elevator. And now they start bringing out the electronic scanner. They start doing what they need to do. At this point, it's kind of too late because they've got a 4v3 and they've got to flush people out of behind server. They've still got someone in an elevator. They've so much line of sights open. Unfortunately for Spark, he made a really bad decision to, for some reason, open that door. I think what he wanted was as people pushed him from stairs and they pushed over, that one of his team members could be on door watching the cross, maybe get a free kill, but it was just horrific timing. Stizzy didn't even hesitate. He just moved on in to get that kill. There's still the entire line of sight from garage into default plant spot, as expected, and none of the Vitality boys are choosing to peek whatsoever. There's no need for them to do it yet. Holding this line of sight, which of course Brit accidentally flicks off of, but he does light up a couple of the players. And then again, rather than focusing on trying to bait out the C4s or whatever, not that they had any C4s, not that they really had any plant denial. You know what, Team Secret had a Thatcher. They could have just thatched I believe it was up on the wall here, the Evil Eye, destroyed it, and then started planting. And people could have just done suppressive fire, or they could have, I don't know, maybe they could have baited the plant a couple of times or planted a little bit across in the door or whatever it is and had someone cover. I mean, whatever it is, they just never seem to want to play the objective. They just wanted to go for kills instead. And when you've got guys almost doing an outside-in look, that's impossible to try and push people who are watching the angles that you're trying to push from. And now, again, it's Stizzy by himself. My goodness. Wonder how many support players are plagued by this. And then it's easy for Team Vitality. Now, mind you come up against a team that runs 3 different strats on one site in one map. That's pretty distressing. If you're a player, you're kind of like, I don't know how to read them. I don't know what to do. They just have like 7 different strats for every single site. And that's so difficult. Again, that is probably the only round that I felt that Vitality did something exceptional. And it was that roam. And some people feel like when you're a roamer, you have to be hyper aggressive, the same way that Bibu was. And actually, he actually wasn't that aggressive. He was, he actually spent 2 whole minutes sitting in an elevator. But that kill he got onto Leon Geertz was one that was forced on by Leon Geertz. It wasn't forced on by Bibu, it was forced on by Leon Geertz. And the fact that he didn't get refragged, that he was able to sit in the elevator. The Ella sat in archives for a heck of a long time until 2 people aggressed her. They got concussed. She got 1, got traded back. Pretty good trade. And as a whole, when you're delaying so much time like that, you don't have to aggress. The people roaming were just sitting there. They literally were standing in corners. 1 in elevator, 1 in archives, 1 in open. I mean, if people aren't pushing you, okay, just stand there, just wait, just hold angles. Okay, maybe make some noise, maybe make them look a certain way, maybe make them use their utility on you, maybe make them whatever it is that you want them to do. And that's what Team Vitality were doing by running a full roam strat. Literally all Team Secret had to do was like take really quick server control and then try and hold the flanks. That was pretty much it. Because when someone does a huge roam like that, you can ignore it if the flanks can be held. You put one person up top of square, you put one person, I don't know, in cafeteria or something somewhere, in kitchen, holding a line of sight into open. For the hatch drops, you have people holding the line of sights that they're meant to be, someone holding a line of sight from electrical into archives, and you have 2 people working on baiting out the plant down in server. So for me, it seems like every time they tried to counter-analyze or do something, they just didn't have the step-by-step process that they needed to do that. Then, of course, we flip over. We now have Team Secret on defense and Vitality on attack. Now, benefit of the doubt given to Team Secret because generally defense is a lot easier and it's one that you're expected to win more rounds on. And you see Leon Gids 6-pick off a castle onto a Vigil. And Vigil always screams roam. So I think, okay, Leon Gids doing pretty good this game. His kill count's pretty high. He's feeling pretty confident. He's going to go for a roam. See the default sort of reinforcements coming out from Secret. Nothing crazy again. Some barricades going up as indicators, sound indicators. And then a nice rotate from archives into open, which is a really smart way of roaming because it gives you full, complete access. So you're not tunneled to just square. You don't have to push through just top of square or just bottom of square. You can also push through archives if you need to flank. That's a beautiful peek there. It's a really popular one. But he did get greedy. He should have run off straight away then, but he got traded straight off. So the aggression worked, but it wasn't as effective as it possibly could have been. Bibu doesn't drone properly, pays the price, and Fonkers, who's playing in such an open spot under Spiral, pays the price for that. So they narrow down those numbers quite well. But the roam is essentially over at this point because they now have top floor control. With pretty good timing. Hatches into server are open. All the utility that was used upstairs now is non-viable. And now they can start working on making their way down into server. Fortunately, Alems takes Brit off guard as he's actually still in archives. And where that went wrong was the droning. They had a Velcam there as well, which was a little bit tough that Vitality didn't deal with it, especially when they knew they had flashed the Valkyrie. And I'm not saying they have to bring an IQ, but they most definitely should be looking for those really obvious cams. And of course, they're able to hold it off on site. And that's a round to Team Secret. And that's a much more confident round for Team Secret because Alems, he did his passive aggressiveness as well. The same thing that Team Vitality ran when they were roaming. And now Vitality get it given back to them. A taste of their own medicine. So you're sort of sitting there thinking, all right, cool. Team Secret are picking their game up. They know what's up. It's their defensive side. Awesome. And now Vitality does the 6-pick onto the IQ. Super, super necessary. Super awesome. Probably wouldn't have traded out the Thatcher for it, not gonna lie. But, you know, they both have the same kind of capabilities. A Thatcher just tends to be a little bit easier. So I would have rather run a Thatcher and IQ, but they've clearly identified the need for both a double hard breach and the sledge. So if that's their need, and I'm not going to question it. Castle coming out, the Mute coming out, nothing crazy there from either team. Just 6-picking off the Thatcher for the IQ probably wasn't the play. But they go top floor now. It generally is that, like, once you win bottom floor, you go top floor. Not a lot of people go from bottom floor to ground floor or first floor, whatever you call it. Generally, you'll go straight to top floor afterwards. And now they do a pretty default hold of the top floor. And overall, you see that they have the Meisho to run in a top floor configuration. And they reinforce elevator and all of the front area so that no lines of sight from any of the lobby rappels can be done. And the default castles go up. 2 castles going up in Banana means that they want to put a lot of emphasis on the front lobby hold. So the fact that they don't want anyone rappelling up on lobby, getting a peek on the person playing elevator, etc. And given that Vitality are making a swift move into ATMs is pretty indicative that they've done some research on how they push. And that lobby is the way they like to push it. That Maestro cam getting taken out real early is a bit of a bummer because I actually prefer the bulletproof on Banana because it's harder to destroy. You actually need to put yourself in some risky positions to get rid of it. But you can see the rappel goes off here and Sneaky's aware of someone playing in Tellers. So this is good. They're moving in on the person. They start pre-firing. They get the shots off. Leon's dead. And it's such a shame because Leon died the first death of his team almost every single round. So it's really, it's too difficult to say whether or not that's Leon's fault. It's too difficult to say whether or not that's just the luck of the game during this particular matchup. But the fact that he got knocked out so quickly, and the fact that what it is that Vitality are able to move into lobby with almost no contention. If you're going to put so many castles and you're going to do such a emphasis on holding the elevator and doing an elevator ACOG hold, and you're going to do all these things, then at the very least, you should try and challenge anyone moving into lobby. Because there's like 3 or 4 of them now that are just standing in the middle of the lobby. One's got a grenade in his hand. And the fact that no one is playing elevator wall, that's a wasted grenade there. They actually could have droned that. But overall, they start to open up lines of sight. Oh, that's horrific. That right there is horrific. Top 10 anime betrayals. Absolute sadness. That I'm replay that all for you so you can see. This is the moment he knew he fucked up. Standing next to an open banana window that wasn't castled. They chose the other 2 to castle. And Bibu just repels her and goes, is that really a free kill? Am I really about to one-tap this poor man? And then the top 10 anime betrayal begins, and he just one-taps Fonkers. And it's the saddest thing to have to watch because that's now the second player of Team Secret now to get absolutely obliterated. So now that they've taken away 2 of the defensive players on Team Secret, it's now just 3 of the support players, I would call them, left over because Bonkers doesn't usually actually play a support role that much. But he was put on the Maestro, but he's put on an aggressive Maestro stance. And now they decide to drone, work out what kind of push they're going to do. And Bibu just runs freely all the way up Spiral. Qual's up on Spiral as well on Banana. And they slowly just make their way up into side. The Repel comes out by Spark. And a lot of people might be thinking, oh, why doesn't someone jump out on him? Because there's no need. You have so many attackers still alive, the trade doesn't make it worth it. They ping someone through the wall. The C4 comes out, doesn't connect at all, and they just keep wallbanging this poor man. If it wasn't enough that they had one-tapped their teammate, the perfect drone comes out and just ping, 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 and everyone's just crossfiring. Like, you ever just had like a 1v5 situation and like everyone's trying to like roll up on you and you've got bullets from like every door around you flying at you? That's what Meepy just went through. So the perfect drone from Vitality gives the perfect ping and everyone just lays into the poor man. And then Bibu just keeps going. Bibu's like, you know what, guys? You go, listen. I've got enough kills this game. Let me drone you guys and give you some kills. And he keeps droning, and then they go, ooh, yeah, there's someone in conference. Yeah, they're in janitor/conference area. And Spark goes, oh, okay, yeah, no problems. And then Qual goes, no worries, I'll pre-fire from the elevator hallway. And now it's just one, and he's pre-firing his little heart out. He does get one of the downs. That's good onto Qual. The diffuser's getting planted up this whole time. And Sneaky's like, nope. And I do notice a lot that Qual and Sneaky or Sneaky and one other move together. Like they move together in pairs. It's almost impossible to find Sneaky by himself somewhere. So I feel like that's such a really clever player mentality to have, is that, okay, I should be near someone, either to refrag them or to have them refrag me. He's always really close to someone. So that particular round was just sad for Team Secret because they obviously didn't realize that they were going to have this many issues turtling on site because they weren't doing anything eccentric. Yes, they had Leon Gids doing a solo roam, which is a problem in its own. But I think overall it wasn't that Team Secret did anything too wrong, but Vitality did a heck of a lot of things right. Oh, there's my friend. No. Okay, easy. And now this is where it starts to get really panicky. Because if you're Team Secret, you're very close to being relegated right now, which of course they were, but in your mind, the game's not over till it's over. And you're in this moment going, oh boy. Okay, top 14 work, boys. Let's move ourselves to Teller's Archives. They felt themselves get clean sweeped upstairs. Easy, okay. They did not feel confident. They moved to another site. That's okay. Sometimes I feel, though, that when you first see how someone wants to push something, you know, like it's a heavy lobby push, that maybe instead you go back there for the second time because now you can counter a lot of that. You can change the way that you held it. You can go, hang on, they do a heavy lobby push. Let's have someone peeking from here and here at the same time or using a Velk cam. I'll let you know when to quick peek up and bounce as they come into ATMs because they all funnel through ATMs. Whatever it might be that you identified in that round, you might be able to use it against that team by going back there again. It said that they opt to go Teller's archives, and Vitality bring a pretty default lineup for this kind of push. Nothing crazy. What I do want to kind of point out about the scoreboard is that on a consistent basis, Leon Geertz does put up a high kill count. That's what he prides himself on, is that he is quite an exceptional fragger. But on the side of Vitality, it's really an even number count, because I really feel like there's not... Bibu would probably be the standout player, but that's because he's always on a fragging role of some kind. That's kind of his role. But you saw before he was the one that droning, very likely because he was the only one who had a drone left, etc. And they're all pretty even kills. So that shows a pretty consistent team. Now, of course, as we've spoken about before, top floor hold being super integral to holding tellers. And that's why Fonkers, Lems is up there, I should say. And they get a nice little rotate that allows them to go in through open and whatnot. The IQ doing their jobs. Both IQ players from both teams, I felt like they did a pretty good job. And then Fonkers takes out Sneaky. For me, that was such a risk. Really was such a risk. I know that most people just push through off terrace into that double door, and it's like, that can seem like a free kill the same way that Leon Geertz peeked from stock out onto the people rappelling up onto terrace. Like, I get it. A lot of people don't really have drones waiting there to see if someone's peeking from a window there or from a door or from the bottom of square up onto the double door. But it is such a risk. It paid off for him, and it was a smart one play kind of thing. But they do lose their Habana, which is no biggie for a site like this. But you never want to be one player down when you're pushing top floor. Oh, my heart, watching it. This is like the third time I've watched that, but that was terrifying. And again, no! Again! Leon Geertz is the first Team Secret player taken out. That was an unluckily timed C4. A beautiful effort there. But that's the only C4 that they had. So it's such a shame that it gets taken out of commission really, really early into the round. Now, we all know Vitality is the type of team to take their time, to really methodically analyze a site, analyze a take, and then just collapse on it in the last 15 seconds. So seeing them take their time now is something I would usually criticize other teams who are not quite as obvious as that. But for Team Vitality, it's not like that. One thing I do criticize about Vitality is that they do waste a lot of their nades. This should have been droned out. Vitality seemed really confident on the drones the round before, and then suddenly they slacked off. I don't know if that's because they lost Sneaky or whatever it was. I don't think Sneaky's their main droner. Very well, maybe he was meant to be for this push. And then Alems is able to just hide here the same way he did in the other round when they did a roam for lockers. And he's just able to kill their soft breach, which was meant to be their vertical control. Now, the thing about dwindling down the time, working on getting a side push, is that for Vitality, oftentimes it works out for them. And that seems to be their preferred strategic, stylistic choice of pushing when they're on attack. But when they get picked off really early, they stall out a little bit too much. It's where the panic starts to fly out. You can see here, Bridge trying to move up, Bibu's trying to move up, Spark's trying to wallbang, and they're all pushing from this one side. And they've decided, okay, we're going to open up this wall. We've got 20 seconds left. Indicative of such a typical Vitality push. Mind you, when you've got a 3-person attack left, there's really only so much you can do. The smokes go off, the wall gets opened. There's now 10 seconds left. Now, the smart thing to do is have one person go through the breach, one person go through the south side teller's door, and someone go through the north side teller's door. Because you have to try and get crossfires the best way you can. And that's it. Stizzy looks away from the one door he had to watch. We go back to that. If you can hear that barb. You should be able to hear that barb, even with smoke going off, even with the last 10-second timer, etc. He puts the smoke and he thinks it protects him. That is such a bad mentality to have. Is if you think you smoke an area and no one's going to push through it, that's not a good mentality to have. Because Spark, you can eat 50 health, easy run through a smoke. Easy. You see it happen all the time in CSGO with mollies and stuff. In this game as well, you can run through a smoke. And they had to. Stizzy knew that they would have to because they were out of time. They weren't going to wait for the smoke to dissipate. They had 8 seconds. So now it's down to a 2v3. And all they need to do is start planting the diffuser, and they do. The call comes out, very likely from a drone, that Meepy is up top flanking. And then somehow, all of a sudden, it's a 1v3. And they had 15 seconds left. All you had to do was cover each door. There were 2 doors and a breach. There were 3 players to watch one line of sight each. And suddenly Fonka's like, whoa, buddy, I gotta do a 1v3 retake diffuse? Nah. And they got all these flashes coming out. Fonkas gets one, he's looking for another. The panic ensues. No one's peeking because they know they don't have to. And this is where you just do really good time denial. Fonkas gets a really good shot on Spark there, but Bibu's there for the trade. They can hear him stomping around. In that particular situation, there were 2 things Secret could have done. And it's not like Vitality had the right idea either. Because you're trying to push through barb and smoke and the shotgun of a smoke, and you don't really know what's facing you because you didn't really drone. So that's not a right push either. So it wasn't an exceptional round for Vitality either. But realistically, all that needed to have happened there, and if I was Fonkas, for example, is prone in the archives door, looking into Teller's left door, while Stizzy held right door, or the other way around, it wouldn't have mattered. And with like 5 seconds left, just unload. Absolutely freaking hold down mouse 1 and just go over and over and over again till you just see bodies fly. Because that's what your gun is built to do. That is what you have the capability to do. And if you don't use that utility, and you could see he had to reload after it, he did try and do it, but that should have been something with 5 seconds left. They have to run in, just pre-fire every single fucking door. Don't rely on smokes. They're just going to have to run through it. They know they have to run through it. So start unloading your freaking bullets. Let the shotgun watch the doors to confirm kills. And at the very least, down the person with the diffuser. Then you could just run. For all I care, run. Hide. Lay down behind something. You've done your job. They can't plant anymore. And they couldn't do that. Yes, Stizzy made a fatal time mistake, but there were also other players on the team that could have done something. And now you're in the spot of no return. Now, if you're Team Secret, you have to win the next 3 to even keep yourself in contention in this matchup. And that is a horrific, stressful situation to have you in. If that's my boys, they're feeling absolutely defeated, and you can push through that mentally. You can push through that. There's things that you can say. You can have your captain really try and hype everyone up and do all those things, but it's unrealistic to think that those players aren't feeling some of the biggest levels of stress in their life. Now Team Secret get to go downstairs, one of the most favored bomb sites. And they get to feel pretty confident that the last time they did this, they were pretty successful. But they decide to run exactly the same strategy by bringing a complete roam with Leon on the vigil. This time they get a vigil sensor up in terrace. And Bibu's able to get a kill on Leon again. And I just want to highlight that again. You don't see it, but as Leon runs across top floor, Bibu, who's rappelling on lobby, is able to get a complete headshot on him. It's such a shame that Leon had probably one of the worst games of his entire season. And he had it at this particular game, and especially in this particular last match. And mind you, a lot of it does stem from the fact that he roams alone and that he moves a lot when he roams. Or he puts himself in really bad angles. Another ping comes out as to where another player is. Of course, Bibu can't stay up in parking for that long. And then they look to move in. And after using a lot of drones themselves, a lot of intel collection, a lot of their utility, they now feel very sure that they can move in. Cams get hacked, which is absolutely horrific because you've got Valkyrie cams, you've got default cams that you can't exactly get rid of now. They've got a heck of a lot of intel. It's horrific when your cams get hacked. Now, one thing I do want to really praise Vitality on is that I see a lot of red pings from them. A lot of ability to drone out the enemy, give an indication to their entire team as to where they are, and then their team reacts to it almost instantaneously. I see 2 people roaming, or at least one, the Jaeger who's playing, and another red ping comes out on him as well. Bibu creeps on in through ATMs, and Fonkia is standing just out in the open. Realistically, that's an out in the open kind of angle. He can't watch all the angles, whereas a lot of people can watch angles on him in that particular spot. Now there's so many people trying to wallbang a Lambs, the poor Jaeger, playing in tellers. And then he just gets absolutely annihilated by Bibu because people are shooting at him through the wall. And he's trying to like move so he's not getting wallbanged. And then he moves into Bibu's crosshairs. It's a beautiful strategy to engage and clear roamers by applying multi-angled pressure. And whether or not your shots are actually hitting through the wall or not, it's enough to make someone have to move. Of course, Stizzy moves up south stairs, gets a good pick onto Qual, and does the exact right thing and defaults back to side. So does Meepy because he knows he's in a really bad position now. It's a 2v4. It's match point. They're feeling absolutely crushed by this. And it's such a bad position to be in. I don't really know what Meepy wanted to do in that position. I guess he must have thought that they wouldn't come down through server or something. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not going to judge too much when you're in a 2v4. You can't think of everything. You can't look everywhere. And then it's just down to Stizzy, and you've got Pro League Point resting on you here. He's going to do his best. He happens to be the one that mostly does well under pressure. Makes pretty good decisions. And you know what I like about Vitality is that they have such a big number game. They could just go in there and absolutely annihilate him. If they wanted. They could all just drop, run in, end it. Instead, Brid goes, no, I want to open the wall. I want to try and get the plant down. I want to focus on the execute. Flashes come out into red. The wall gets open. The plant goes down. The pre-fires come out. Stizzy's doing his best to try and stop this, but the diffuser goes down. They don't care that they have the number game. That's what I like about Vitality. They focus on the objective. They don't care about the numbers. They go, I don't care if we had a 5v1. I want the focus of our push to be about the objective. And that's a good team because that's what this game is about. It's about the objective. Now Stizzy has to do a retake. He knows someone was playing on the hatch. He gets a ping that someone's playing on the hatch. And it's all over Red Rover. Nothing Stizzy could have done in that situation. So difficult to retake once the plan is down there. Absolutely impossible. Now, what I do want to say about this game specifically is that this map particularly was one of Team Secret's worst performances I've seen in Pro League for a while. There have been other maps, especially earlier in the season, which is why they fell down to the sort of relegation spot. That obviously led them to being in this position that they were here. What really downs me about it is that when they play well, they play very well. they're a very good team. But unfortunately, if you come into a match like this and you make these mistakes, and you've got a team like Team Vitality who have been so angered by the fact that they had to move down to CL and fight their way back up to PL, you can guarantee they've worked on their mistakes. You know, they've got girls behind them like Liluan and other support from their organization and boot camps, and they've been putting in the damn hours, and you can guarantee by watching them that they've worked on droning, that they've worked on utility usage, that they've worked on pinching together, refragging, etc. And for them, it seemed methodical and being passive aggressive and not peeking unless they needed to. It was so good. They could fix up their attack by being a bit faster, not gonna lie. But you know the forever formidable Vitality attack, we all know it's the collapse at the last second, and it just happens to work. And maybe that, because it does work, is their forte. But I think in this particular map that we went through, the mistakes I pointed out are things that are so easy for Secret to fix. I have no doubt in my mind, guys like Helby and stuff will identify these and be able to pull them out and say, hey boys, like, we can't have you roaming solo. We can't have you peeking this or doing this or not challenging this or whatever it might be. Or there's so many things I feel I pointed out in this VOD review that could be fixed by Team Secret. And every team knows this when they go over a VOD. They go, it's hard to see it during the game. I get that. But that's what these VOD reviews are for, so that you can pre-think about it. Have it as a forethought before you get into the game. That way you're already thinking about, oh, I shouldn't peek that. Jess would say that that's not a good thing to peek. And then after a while, they don't need to say, oh, Jess wouldn't say that. I know I shouldn't peek that. And it becomes part of their game sense. It becomes part of their game strategy, their strategy, or just strats as a whole. So I think it's very important that we look at this match that Team Secret lost here as being one of a learning curve for a lot of teams, and one of celebration for Team Vitality, who you can tell is a unit, an entire team. The way that they play, the way that they drone for each other, they push, they pinch, they refrag, that's also indicative of a really deserving Pro League team as well. So I think this VOD review has pretty well encapsulated a lot of the mistakes that Team Secret unfortunately going to spend the next 6 months brewing over and fixing, hopefully, and then sort of coming back strong. It also highlights a lot of the successes that Team Vitality have with their complete adaptation, counter adaptation, switching strategies on a consistent basis, confident pushes, zoning as well, where they take a room extremely quickly once they've cleared it, pushing together, roam clearing. There was so much good there from Vitality as well. So I really feel like this VOD review has been a really successful one, because we got to see a high level amount of utility usage, drone usage from Vitality, and then what happens when a team doesn't do that, and that was Team Secret, unfortunately. So I really appreciate you guys being here with me, watching this one. This one will go up on YouTube, or if you're watching it on YouTube now, which will happen to be the future from when I'm saying this, then make sure you give a like, thumbs up, a comment, any feedback you guys have. That's always appreciated. And if you're watching live right now on Twitch, I'll be back in another 30 minutes just for some casual, or not some casual, I'll do some ranked, of course, but it'll just be sort of like a casual ranked evening. And yeah, I appreciate you guys all being here. I'll see you again in another 30 minutes. And for those of you watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll do these on a weekly basis from now on. So I'll see you guys very soon.